Hello there. So I am going to go through with you how to interpret a histogram today. So what we have here is a very roughly drawn histogram because I'm afraid I don't have any giant graph paper at home. So we're going to do what we can with this. So I've drawn us a histogram. We've got frequency density going up the side, and we've got bars of different widths indicating how long different groups of people spent studying. Okay, now the key thing to remember with histograms is the frequency is the area. As long as you are confident with area of rectangles, this is just a variation on that. Okay, so you've got to remember frequency is the area. That's the key point to remember. So the first thing I would do if I was ever presented with a histogram in an exam, in real life, wherever, first thing I would do is spend a minute or two just going through each of the bars and finding the frequency for each one, so I know what that's telling me about the real data. So this bar here, between 0 to 5 minutes spent studying, I've got a frequency density of 2. So if I think about the width and the height, I can calculate the area. So we've got a width of 5 and a height of 2. So that represents a frequency of 10. So 10 students spent very little time studying. Okay, now between 5 and 10, that's a width of 5, height of 6. So that is an area of 30. So 30 students spent that amount of time studying. 10 up to 15, that's a width of 5, and that height goes up to 9. Apologise, it's quite hard to see. I'm just going to put a 9 there so you know what it means. Okay, so we've got 5 times 9 giving us a frequency of 45. Then here we've got a width of 10 this time because the bar is wider. So from 15 all the way up to 25, that's 10. We've got a height of 7. Again, sorry, that might be hard to see, so I'm just going to write it on there. So 10 times 7 gives us 70. And then the final bar, 25 all the way up to 40. That's a width of 15, and it's got a height again of 3. Sorry, that's hard to see. So 15 times 3, that gives us 45 students who spent between 25 and 40 minutes doing some work. Okay, so that's what that data was actually about. It's telling us how many students are in each group. Okay, and now that we've got that set up, we're going to be able to answer some questions on it, which I'm going to do now. So the first question is, how many people were in the year group? How many people are in this year? And we've got each of the frequencies here now. So all I have to do to work out the total number that were in this data set is to add them together. So I've got 10 plus 30 plus 45 plus 70 plus 45. I'm going to think, well, 70 plus 30 is 100. 45 plus 45 is 90. Plus another 10, that gets me 200. So I know that my data is about a total of 200 people. Even if you don't get asked that question, it's often really helpful to work that out anyway. Okay. Next question, how many people spent 30 minutes or more? Now, this is an estimate. I don't know how many people spent 30 minutes or more because all I've been told is that there were 45 people in this group. I haven't got any more information than that. So those 45 people could all have spent 26 minutes, or they could have all spent 40 minutes, or what's much more likely is they're somehow spread out between those, with each person taking a slightly different amount of time. But I don't know what the distribution, what the spread of those people is actually really like. So I'm going to be doing an estimate here. So I want to capture how many people spent 30 minutes or more. This is how I do it. I go to my 30 and I imagine creating a bar. I've split the overall bar into 2 bars, and I'm just going to assume that this bar represents that distribution accurately. So I'm going to assume that if I want the people who spent 30 minutes or more, if I capture the people in this bar, I've got a reasonable estimate. Okay, so from 30 up to 40, that is a width of 10. The height of the bar is 3, so 10 times 3 is 30. Okay, so I'm going to say 30 people spent 30 minutes or more. Okay, it's an estimate because I don't know that this distribution is evenly spread out, so it is an estimate. Next one, how many people spent 20 minutes or less? Okay, so for this one, I'm looking at 20 minutes or less, so I'm wanting to capture all the people 20 minutes all the way down to 0. Okay, so it's all of this area here that I'm trying to work out. So I've already got some areas. I've got the 10, I've got the 30, and I've got the 45. And I now just need this extra bit of area as well. So again, just like before, I'm going to do myself a little dotted line down here. and I'm just going to then find the area of that bit of bar. So I know I've got 5 across, and I know I've got a height of 7, so that bit of bar is going to have an area of 35. And now all I have to do is add 35, 45, 30, and 10. So 35 plus 45 is 80, plus the 30 is 110, plus the other 10 gets me 120. Okay, so it really is just area of rectangles combined. Only sometimes you're going to do areas that are part way into a bar. Okay, right. Next question. This is the more tricky one. Estimate the median. Now, the median is halfway into the data. So if I imagine my 200 students and I want the median, I want to find the student who took exactly the middle amount of time to do their work. So half the students took less time and half the students took more time. That's how I'm going to split it up. So I've got 200 students in total. So first job is halving it. 200 divided by 2. I want to capture 100 students who took less than this amount of time and the other 100 students who took more than that amount of time. So I'm basically attempting now to find where I need to chop straight down on my histogram to get an area of 100 on one side and an area of 100 on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to have to chop partway through a bar in order to make that happen. So let's have a look from here upwards. I'm going to find out how far in do I have to go to capture an area of exactly 100, because that's half of my total population. So got 10, that's not enough yet. Add an extra 30, that takes me to 40, still not got enough yet. Add an extra 45, that takes me to 85. So I've got 85 students captured here. I need another 15. Okay, so I need to get an area of 15 somehow out of this bar. So I know I need an area of 15. I'm going to draw it just down here so we can see what's going on. It's a really good idea when you're working with histograms to draw extra diagrams just to help you think about it. So what do I know already about this bar I'm thinking about? Well, I know I need an area of 15. Okay, and I know that those 15 are coming in here in this bar, which has a height of 7. So I know that the height is going to need to be 7. The question then is, what width do I need? How far in to this bar do I need to go in order to capture those 15? So I know that my width times by 7 has to get me 15. So the width is going to have to be 15 divided by 7. Okay, now I could get a calculator out and do it as a decimal, but it will be a horrible decimal if I do that. So I'm going to do 15 over 7 as a mixed number. 15 sevenths is the same as 2 and a seventh. So I'm going to need to go 2 and a seventh in to this bar here in order to capture the 15 people that I need. So I think, well, I'm at 15 now. If I go 2 and a seventh up from that, 15 plus 2 and a seventh is 17 and a seventh. Not a very nice number. Now, I created this question myself. When you do it in an exam, they'll probably come up with slightly nicer decimals than sevenths. Okay, so 17 and 1/7 is how far into that bar I need to go. So if I now draw that line up there, what I should find is, if I work out the area of all these rectangles on this side, the area is 100. But also, if I work out the areas of all the ones on this side, the area is 100. Okay, so I'm just going to check that. So I've got 10 plus 30 plus 45, and then I've got 2 and a seventh times by 7. Okay, or 15 sevenths times by 7, which is 15. Okay, so this area is 15. So if I add them together, yes, I do get 100. But let's just check on the other side to make sure I definitely have got 100 there as well. So I know that this whole area here is 45. And this here, I need to work out the width for, and then I can work out the area. So if I'm going from 17th and a 7th all the way up to 25, I've got a little bit of a sum to work out here. I've got to do 25 minus 17 and a 7th. So I'm going to do 25 minus 17. That gets me down to, 25 minus 17 is going to get me 8. Minus a 7th is going to get me 7 and 6/7. So this width here is 7 and 6/7. And I need to do 7 and 6/7 times by 7. Now 7 is 49/7. So 49 plus 6 is going to get me 55/7 times by 7. 55 divided by 7 times by 7 is 55. So this part here has an area of 55. So going all the way down to my green line, I've got 45 plus 55. That area makes 100. So I have successfully split my area in half there. I've got 100 on this side and 100 on this side. The median is that number there that you needed to split down, okay, in order to get the median. So we've got 17 1/7 of a minute. So what that's telling us is that half of the students spent less than 17 1/7 minute, and half of the students spent more. Okay, so we've split the students in half, 17 1/7 minutes, whether they spent more or less than that. Okay.